Okay, welcome to lesson 31 of numbers and operations, write and solve proportions. And here's our objective for the day, our vocabulary. So a proportion is two ratios or fractions set equal to one another. So let's give you an example of a proportion. So if we take a rate 3 miles per 2 hours is equal to 6 miles in 4 hours. Actually, these are equivalent fractions, but what I did was made a proportion. I said two fractions equal to one another, and they don't necessarily have to have the same numbers. This is where we will start to see x's and things like that, because you'll have a missing number and then you'll have to solve for it, and that's what we'll be talking about. So we know the colon makes fractions. A to B equals C to D, and then if you cross multiply across the equal sign, this one multiplies to that one, so A multiplies to D and then B multiplies to C. That's how they. Okay, so does the pair of ratios form a proportion? Where the two ways to solve this problem. You can cross multiply and see if the numbers equal. So does 6 times 18 equals 12 times 10? Is it a proportion? Yes or no? And we know that 6 times 18 equals 108, and then 12 times 10 equals 120. These numbers are not the same, so this is not a proportion. So that's a big fat no. Okay, looking at example 2, and this is our first time looking at decimals and dealing with decimals. So I'm going to show you the second way to deal with proportions. So let's set this up as a fraction. 1.2 divided by 1.8, and I know you should never have fractions, decimals in a fraction. 2.4, why am I writing 2.5? 2.4 equal to 3.6. Now what you could do here is just take 1.2 and divide it by 1.8. So if we do 1.2 divided by 1.8, you get 0.66 repeating. I don't know, your calculator will cut it off. Don't think that the number stopped. Whenever you see the same number over and over again, it means they repeat. But what the calculator will do is round the number off. So what you will see is 0.66667, and that is letting you know that it rounded the number off. And conversely, if you take 2.4 and divide it by 3.6, you get the same number, 0.66 repeating. So you get the same decimal equivalent out of both of these things. That means that these are proportional. These ratios are proportional. So I showed you two ways. In example 1, we cross multiplied. In this example, we just divided and compared either side of the equal sign. Okay, so now this is what I'm talking about. Find the missing term. 5 over 6 equals n over 48. Since our n, I'm going to do it the long way, and then I'm going to show you the shortcut. So I'm going to do it the long way here. So what you're supposed to do, technically, is cross multiply. So you got 48 times 5, which equals 40, 20, 20, 240, which is equal to 6n 6 times n is 6n. And then what you're supposed to do is divide by 6 on both sides. And you divide, 6 divided by 6 is 1. 240 divided by 6. 6 goes into 24 4 times and a 0. So n equals 40. I'm going to show you a shortcut here on this page. So 5 over 6 equals n over 48. N, not R. Okay. Since n is already on the top, it's in the numerator, that's good. That's where we want it to be. All you have to do is cross multiply to 48. So if you do 5 times 48 and leave it over 6, and now the n is by itself, you only have operations to do on the left side. And so you multiply first, or you could divide first to make it easier. We talked about factoring out. 6 goes into 48, 8 times 8. 5 times 8 gives you 40. So n equals 40, just like on the previous page. If you don't like the way I did it on this page, do it the long way on a previous one of example 3 and get more familiar with that, and that should help you out. Okay, example 4. Here's a word problem. Now we're going to have to be very careful, and I'm going to show you how to set these up. You got 9 gallons, 225 miles, 7 gallons, 175 miles. And you just had to be careful of the words here. Miles per gallon is the answer. So that means miles go on top and then gallons go on the bottom. Miles on top and then gallons on the bottom. And if you put the numbers in, 225 goes with 9 and 175 goes with 7. And you might be saying to yourself, how do I know that? Well, let's look. The first sentence before in this period, what two numbers are together? 9 and 225. In the second sentence, what numbers are together? 7 and 175. That's how I know that these numbers go together. And so now, we have to find the proportional relationship. So you have to ask yourself, is 225 divided by 9 equal to 175 over 7? You can cross multiply if you want, or you can divide top and bottom. So I am going to do it the long way. I am going to take the 225 and multiply it to 7 times 7 equals 125 times the 9 after we cross multiplied here. And then we'll multiply them and see what we come up with. And what I did was skip all the multiplication steps. You can pick those back up if you feel like you need to. So we got 1,575 or 1,575 and 1,125. So these numbers are not proportional, and the average miles per hour do not equal. One car is actually going faster than the other car. And those were our 4 examples. Work on the practice problems, and I'll see you at the end of this video. Okay, do we have a proportion here? So you have 14 over 28 equal to 12 over 36. Now, what you could do is just reduce the fractions. If I divide 14 over 28, let's see, that divides by, if I divide by 14 over 14, and 12 goes into 36, and if I divide by 12 over 12, 14 divided by 14 is 1, 28 divided by 14 is 2, and I set that equal to 12 divided by 12 is 1, 36 divided by 12 is 3. So no, these pair of ratios do not perform a proportion. Again, do we have a proportion? 56 over 8 equals 35 over 5. I can just as easily divide. 56 divided by 8 is 7. 35 divided by 5 is 7, not 5. So yes, we do have a proportion here. Problem 3. Find the missing term. 9 over t is equal to 36 over 8. Okay, so now we're going to have to do all of the multiplication, because on this one, the t is at the bottom, and you can't just move the 9 because the t will be on the bottom. We don't want 1 over t as the answer. We want t as the answer. So I'm going to multiply the 9 and the 8 and a t and a 36, and we will see what we come up with. So 9 times 8 equals 36 times t. So 9 times 8 is 72, equal to 36t. When a number is next to a letter, the order of operation is multiply because there's no sign in between. So now to get rid of this 36, we're going to have to divide by 36 on both sides. So our next step is to divide by 36. Any number divided by itself is 1. You have to divide by 36 on the other side. T equals 72 divided by 36 is 2. So T is 2. If we did 9 divided by 2 and 36 divided by 8, they should come out with the same number. I believe we one more problem, and this is it. Okay, pecans cost $7.99 per pound. Amber spent $17.98. How many pounds did she buy? Well, how do we set up this problem? We are given $7.99 per 1 pound. This is a rate, equals $17.98 is the money over how many lbs. So now, just like in the previous problem, you're going to have to cross multiply and cross multiply. So $7.99 times a question mark, or I could just put a variable for pounds because I'm getting rid of all the units. 1 times 17.98. And again, to get rid of the $7.99, you divide it by itself. And why do we divide it by itself? Because we want to know how much 1 pound is. 1 question mark, which represents a pound, equals 17.98 divided by 7.99. So I'm going to change this question mark back to 1 pound. 1 pound. 17.98 divided by 7.99. And we come up with 2.25 after we did the division on a calculator. So that's our answer. That ends this lesson on proportions, writing proportions, and solving proportions. Like this channel, subscribe, hit the notification button, and I'll see you on the next video. And thank you for watching.